G'day YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Turbo Tristan here, and in today's video we're going to be installing BC valve springs and retainers into the head of the $50 D16Y engine. So stick around, back to the car content, back to the mechanical work. I'm about to show you what you need to do the job. So lucky for me, I have this head, and that head. So I'm going to do a practice run on this one first, just to do a couple of valves. I'm going to show you a few different ways you can do it with either the valve spring compressor tool that I picked up from eBay, or with the 16mm socket and bashing that on there. So we're going to try both methods, but what we'll be fitting today is an uprated BC Brian Crower valve spring and retainer. These aren't the titanium ones, these are just the standard valve spring retainers, but these are the upgraded valve springs. We also have some valve stem seals. Now these I picked up online for $50 delivered off eBay. There's two different colors for each side, intake and exhaust. Now these Brian Crower valve springs, they cost me $250. I got them from eBay. That's including delivery. Comes with your uprated valve, so you can rev the engine higher and you're not going to get any valve float. And it also came with some upgraded retainers as well, so I'm going to fit those. Tools you'll probably need, I don't know if you'll need a screwdriver, but I've got one. Some pliers to take off the valve stem seals, a couple of different sizes. You'll need a magnet to catch the little retainer things inside there, I don't know what they're called. You'll need a valve spring compressor tool of some description, or you can also do it with 16mm socket on an extension with a hammer and give it a good smash. So we're going to try all of those methods today. I'll set you back up on the tripod and we'll get to practice before we pull apart this bad boy. As you can see, I've done a bit of painting, I've done a bit of customizing. There's going to be some ports there on this one for some vacuum lines all hidden behind. It's all been cleaned up and painted. Same with the rocker cover, we've added in the extra baffle plate. We've got all new seals for here, here and here, ready to go. So just waiting on the pistons and rods combo, and then we can get that put together. All right, so here we have the intake valves. These are the exhaust valves here. Now the idea of changing them is you need to compress the springs so that you can release these two little split bushes. They're tapered and they actually clamp on the end of the valve there, locks in that, and that's where your rocker arms, these things, tap on top of the valve to push them down and open them up. You need to first remove this. A lot easier if you have it out of the car like I do. The cam's just going to sit in there for now. We won't be touching that. Now there's a couple of different ways people have told me how to do this, and this is what the magnet's for, to catch this or to pick them up when they fall down in here. So apparently, I haven't tried this, but you can get a extension on top and give that a good whack. Oh, look at that, worked straight away. Things went flying. And then you need to make sure you keep these, because you use those to lock the retainer in. So this is the retainer, the standard one. Now, if you remember to the previous videos, this is the VTEC head, and this is the replacement one. So it's much thicker, it's much heavier. It's got the BC part number on there, and it's quite beefy. So we're going to keep pulling that apart, spring out, and to compare that side by side with the BC spring, looks like it's just got a lot higher spring force to keep the valves closed, so it's a little bit taller and it's not so compact down here. So whichever way you look at it, quite different. Now down here is the valve stem seal. So this is the bit we need to take out. Now to do that, you can push the valve like so. So there goes the cam. There's the valve. Apparently these are pretty tight. Let's Try the screwdriver. And that, pliers again, different pliers. Oop. All right, so there you go. Butchered it to get it out. There's a bottom retainer as well. You keep that one in there. And you just want to make sure that this is all nice and clean before you install the new one. So that was that method. Now let's try it with the valve spring compressor tool. See if it's any easier. So we need to lock that in there. No. All right, so it was a lot easier to remove them without this, so let's see if we can figure this out, because I don't want to be smashing them on. Let's try and grab it down lower. Yep, no, that doesn't work to take them off. So we're going to be sticking with the bashing it method. And just like that, all comes out. So maybe that can be used to put them back in, hopefully. And again, valve out. Now I'll be cleaning up the valves before I put them back in. And I'll be doing one cylinder at a time so that I can make sure that the right valve goes in the right hole, because they're already seated. I'm not doing any porting or polishing, or I'm not putting any bigger valves in there. So the main thing to remember is just to put them back in the same hole that they came out of. Alright guys, so I was about to start work on the new head, or the new old head, and I noticed it was absolutely caked everywhere with lots of black soot, carbon, everything. It was all caked up. So what I did is I took my trusty parts washer, which is just a giant industrial tub I got from Bunnings, filled it up with degreaser, gave it a hot bath with the, you know, the washer hose. Before I did that though, I used some barbecue oven cleaner, and I let that soak in all of the domes for a couple of minutes. I also did down each port, intake and exhaust, and gave the whole thing a real good cleanup. Now, it sounds a bit weird that I use some oven cleaner, but it's like an acidic foaming, non-caustic cleaner. So it sprays in there, gets into all the areas, and then foams out and pulls with it all of the gunk. I then used a toothbrush, just like the dentist says, in a circular motion. I scrubbed all of that. As you can see, it's pretty clean. The surface is perfect. Didn't affect any of that. Anyone that knows anything about getting engine parts machined, they always give them an acid bath, or they give them a dip to clean everything off it anyway. So I did the whole thing, took it to the shower, gave it a hot bath. Now that's nice and clean, and I'm comfortable with pulling the valves out and getting it all set up now. Okay, so we're ready to start to pull apart the good head, and hopefully we don't stuff it up. So we're going to start with cylinder 1 here on the end, and we worked out that this method works best. Boom, so there we go. Now we're going to pop out the valve, give it a good clean up. Now this rag is covered in wax and grease remover, so clean everything there. You can see there's a bit of a lip there. I'm going to try clean that off. I don't know if I should or not, but My OCD is not going to let me put it back in like that. All right, so sit that down, clean out the schmutz from the hole. Because as I said, I've just given this a really good scrub. And we're going to go one port at a time. All right, over to this side, we've got to take off the valve stem seal. And we worked out that these pliers do the best job of ripping it off. There we go. That's out. Clean it up with the clean rag. Take out this one, give that a good clean too. A new valve stem seal. Now the trick to this, I didn't practice this because I don't have many of them. So I've got I for intake, E for exhaust, I think. Just going to look that up quickly. All right, so just as I suspected, the ones with the E, the blue ones, are the exhaust stem seals. Now I'm told a 10mm socket, maybe an 11, is the perfect size to push that down with. Put the base on. Then we need to wiggle that down onto there till it stops. A little love tap. Strange. Alright guys, so as usual, things don't go to plan. The valve stem seals that I bought don't actually fit. So these are the Super Tech ones that I got from eBay for $50. As you can see, they slide over and then they're really loose. You can lift them straight off. I'll show you the old one that I took off. I managed to not damage it, taking it off. And then that slides over. That's the other new one. Here it is. This is the dirty old one, grubby one. And that slides over, a bit snug, and then it locks on. It doesn't come off again. I've got to really twist it and fight it to get it off. Actually, it's stuck on there now. So you get the picture. So I'm probably going to have to order some of these from Honda. They'll be $12 million and very hard to find and probably take forever to come in. The other fail was this Duvalaki. Was really crap. Didn't really work, so that was a waste of $50, and these were a waste of $50. So you guys don't miss out on any content. I've gone ahead and bashed in the block guard. Fits all snug and perfect. $50 for that, or I think it was actually $40 for the block guard. Nice and snug in there. That's not going to go anywhere. What I might do, because I'm a bit excited, is I will hone the cylinder bores. And then I'll lube them up with oil so there's no rust or anything that gets in there, and I'll wrap it up once I've given it a really good clean down. Hone it, clean it, oil it, pack it up. That's the plan for today. All right guys, so to do the cylinder honing, you're gonna need a full can of possum piss, a cylinder hone, and a bit of time and a bit of patience. You don't wanna go too crazy. You can see there's this dark area here. This bore's still pretty good. The cross hatching and everything in there is still really, really visible and tidy. There's a couple of little polished spots just down here that we're just going to tidy up. It's not going to be anything major. 20 seconds each one, something like that. So believe it or not, of course you're going to believe it, but that was my first ever time ever honing a block. And I'm not going to say it was a complete fail, but definitely wasn't a complete success. A bit hard to see on camera. I took it out of the sunlight because it just was too glary. But those little polish marks on the side aren't there anymore on any of the cylinders, so I'm very happy with that. I'm going to give it a good clean, pack it away. So as you can see, it's all machined, it's all been cleaned. I've got cuts everywhere. The whole block's been cleaned. There's no metal shavings from clearancing. There's no metal shavings from honing the bores. Everything's been cleaned out. All the oil galleries, all the oil feeds, everything's been cleaned. I've put the old bearings back on the crank, oiled them up with some engine oil so that they don't rust or they don't rub or leave any marks. So the old bearings are back in exactly how they were. Nothing's tightened down. It's just a matter of putting some oil now around all of the cylinders because I don't want that to rust. We'll let that run down. Just slop it on because we're still a couple of weeks away from putting the engine together. And that will just let gravity do its thing. And coat the whole cylinder walls there. Obviously before I put it all together, I'll clean it down with some brake cleaner and get all of this oil back off the inside of the bores. We don't want to glaze anything up. Be running some running in oil. Slop heaps of that in there. All right, YouTube, so it's been a pretty devastating day. I did accomplish some stuff, but not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a video of me building the head for high RPM, high boost, with new valve stem seals and new valve springs and retainers, so that we could rev this thing up to 8.5 or higher under boost at the track. As you just saw, we failed. This was a fail. The valve stem seals were a fail. Probably was a fail with the honing, but I'm happy enough with that. It turned out okay. We did clean the block down. There's no metal filings or shavings or anything there. It's 100% clean. I used my big tub that I got from Bunnings and I degreased it all down, used a toothbrush, scrubbed it clean, degreaser, and I've put it all back together. The block guard's in, you saw that. We've wiped the cylinder walls down with a film of oil. Even though it's an aluminium block, there'll be no oxidization or anything happening inside there. I'll wrap it up in garbage bags. It'll be a double bagger job, so it'll be watertight. So we won't have to worry about any corrosion or anything getting in there. I've put the block guard in, the head's sitting on. I've put 2 head studs back in, the standard ones. I've put everything else back together. And I've just got this stuff hanging on here for now. But this is a bit of a look at what it might turn out like when we get towards the end and more parts turn up. I rang my mate Cameron, who's the guru of Hondas locally, and asked him about the valve stem seals, and that's how I know they're the wrong ones, because they are very loose. Well, that's it for today, guys. Just remember, progress is better than no progress. So make sure next episode you bring the boost, you like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Perfect.